Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to start a new topic. But before starting that topic, I want to recap what point we have discussed in earlier lecture. So, dear, in our first lecture, we have discussed about classification of resources. Resources are classified into four categories. First category is that is on the basis of origin. Resources are classified on the basis of origin. These are biotic and abiotic resources. Biotic are living resources like a plant, animal. Abiotic resources are non-living like air, water. Second classification of resources. Resources are classified on the basis of exhaustibility. Exhaustibility means some resources may be in future exhaustible. These classification are in renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources examples are solar, windmill, and non-renewable like a petroleum, coal, such resources. And third classification of resources on the basis of ownership, who is owner of the particular resources. First classification in this, that is the individual resources like a property, individual, anyone, your parents, maybe anyone who has their personal properties, such resources part of individual resources. Second category is community resources which are used by a community like a pasture land, ground burials like this. Third category is national resources, and till 22.2 kilometer up to coastal area, such resources came into the national resources. And fourth category on the basis of ownership, that is international resources. You know, apart from 200 kilometer, such resources come under the international resources, and a organization, UNO, United Nations Organization, control on that resources. Last and important category of resources, that is on the basis of development. On the basis of development, resources are classified into four categories. First category is potential resources here. Potential resources, such resources we are using in present but we are not using with full potential, like in Gujarat, western part of Rajasthan, solar energy available but we are not using with the full potential. Second category is developed resources. We have technology and in present we are using with full potential like petroleum. Example of developed resources is petroleum. Third category is stock resources. Stock means such resources are available in stock, but we have no such sufficient technology, but we want to use such resources like water. Suppose we can use such resources inside lab, but you know, dear, lab is not available everywhere. So, due to the lack of technology, we are unable to use such resources. And last resources are reserve resources. Such resources we are using in present, but we are not using with full potential. And such resources are available for future, like a river. And these are the classification of resources. Now you know, according to the chapter resources and development. So our next topic is what is development for resources, why development is required for resources. Yes, dear. Next topic is development of resources, and it is given on page number 3 in your NCRT book. Why the planning and conservations are required for resources? You know very well, because some resources are exhaustible. In future, they may be exhausted, and by continued use and overuse of resources, such development is required. So there are 3 points given in your book why development is required. First point, depletion of resources for satisfy the greed of few individuals only. There is the word greed and needs. There is the difference between the greed and need. Greed means we are using the resources for our self-wish, and need means we are using resources to satisfy us. So their few end they are using their resources for their greed, for their self-wish. So it is not good for the society. That's why development is required for resources. And second point, accumulation of resources in few and which in turn divide the society into two segments like have and have nots of resources. So this segment divided society into two category. Some person they are having the resources and some they doesn't have any type of resources, and this divides society into rich and poor category. That's why development of resources are required, because resources are nature gift and it satisfy needs of every human beings. That's why resources are important for everyone. And third point is, indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led the global disturbance. Continue use of the resources, it disturb the global ecosystem. Like global warming is common problem for international level, and that's why we'll discuss in this lecture about that topic. What is the Agenda 20 and 21, and what is the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. So dear, our lecture is going on that topic. So these are the three problems why the development of resources is required, because I am repeating again. First, few person they are using resources for their greed, for their selfish. Second one, resources are accessible for few person and that divides society into two category, rich and poor. And third, due to the continued use of these resources and indiscriminate use of resources, it create the problem for global warming. Like that's why resources planning is required. So dear, now we are going to discuss about what are different method, what are different way through this resources conservation is possible. First one is the sustainable development. This topic you are studying in class 8 also. What is sustainable development? Sustainable development means use the resources in this manner without damaging environment. And present development will not compromise with the future generation. Like suppose we must be utilize resources in this manner, it will not damage environment, and our present development will not compromise with the future generation. So our life, our development without using of resources can't possible. So future generation maybe depend on such resources. So we can't compromise with future generation. We should be leave such resources for them also. So this is considered, this is known as the sustainable development. Our next topic is Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. This is the city located in Brazil in Southern America where the Olympic were held. This is the question, competitive question for you, because such minor question become play the important role in our life. Such question maybe came in your competitive exams. So that is the city where the meeting was held, and head of states, approximately 100 head of the states met in these cities and decided issues on the environmental problem, and they have decided in this to implement the forest policy to increase the size of forest, and it may be implemented from the 21st century. So that was the main aim of the agenda, and where the meeting was held in Brazil in 1992. What is the Agenda 21? So about the Agenda 21 will be discussed in our next lecture. So dear, again I recap what are the points today we have discussed. Today we have discussed about the resources planning. Today we have discussed why this resources planning is required. There are 3 points we have discussed. Few generation they are using resources for their greed, for their selfish, and this create the problem for society, and distribution of resources not equal in society, and it create the problem at the international level also. And in this manner we have discussed about sustainable development and what is Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. So our next topic will be Agenda 21.